understand how it works.
Q-Tape, Possibilities Network, and 3, 2, 1. Live from Indianapolis, Indiana, this is the iPad Possibilities Show with your host, Tim Chatton, and co-host, Ryan Anderson.
Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast, episode number 34. What would you change? Well, welcome, and we are here live with Chris and John this Sunday night. This is Mother's Day in the United States, May 9th here. And our topic tonight is what would you change about the iPad, both software and hardware. And before we get started, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this show, the It's On My Way application for the iPhone and the iPod Touch, if you've got, GPS or whatever attached to that or whatever. And it's a great app that I use to quickly just plan out a fast, elegant way to travel from point A to point B to point C, and it helps me actually find some new routes that I've never even thought of. So I'd like to thank them for sponsoring this podcast. And without further ado, let's get on to the first bit of announcements. This episode, we have a newcomer to the live show. His name is Chris, and he's just a listener of the show, and I asked him if he'd like to be on. So, hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm doing very well. And how's your weekend been thus far?
It's been really good. Actually, yesterday was graduation, so that was an exciting day for me. Done with Butler University officially now.
Congratulations.
Good job, Tim.
Thanks. I was a little bit nervous up until the end, but it all worked out.
It's great news.
Yeah. So Chris, are you a student, or what do you do right now as far as professionally?
I am. I'm actually a student, and I work for a college as well in enrollment. So it's a good thing because I get to take some classes that are completely paid for, and make some money while I'm doing it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. I'm enjoying it thus far.
And then you also have an iPad Wi-Fi or 3G? Which one did you spring for?
I got the Wi-Fi.
Awesome.
Yeah, most amazing piece of technology I've ever owned.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I continue to get blown away by just the apps that are on it and what. So let's just move ahead. Stories of the week. The first one I thought was pretty cool. I've been playing with a couple of these as many people are starting to jailbreak their iPads. I don't want to turn this into a full jailbreak show because many people will decide not to do that, and that's fine. But one really cool thing is you can do emulators on the iPad, and with those emulators, you can hook up like a Wiimote via the Bluetooth stack that they have, and play like Super Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers and all those kinds of games full screen with the Wiimote as your controller. So that's a very cool possibility that gets opened up through, What'd you guys think about that story or that announcement that people have been able to start doing that?
Well, it's certainly an interesting story. What we're going to see people do with jailbreaking, but I don't know. The iPad is a pretty phenomenal game platform without going back to old time games. But I guess for nostalgia, you might want to go back there.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I've always been hesitant to this point, but definitely offline. I'm going to discuss that with you further, Tim, to fully understand the advantages and disadvantages, just, with the horror stories you hear here and there. But for the most part, most people are pretty pleased once they get it out of the way and cross that bridge, so to speak, and venture into that arena.
Yeah, I'll tell you with the jailbreak, I've had to restore it once already, but the jailbreak process is like under a minute. It's the most impressive jailbreak I've seen yet. So
And no harm, no foul. You said there were problems, and you
I
just restored it.
and yeah, I actually got a forced restore because it wouldn't boot up after I did something. But as long as you're careful, it's fine. I mean, another cool opportunity that comes with the jailbreak is people will be starting to utilize that camera connection kit, that USB port, more and more. And one way they're doing that is turning the iPad into a USB hard drive through that Engadget to cover this story, and you can now turn your iPad into a hard drive, which is kind of cool. And we're gonna say.
Yeah, it's rather interesting that you can do that, but as the story goes, it's rather cumbersome when you get it all hooked up. So the practicality of it remains to be seen, but it's neat that they could do it.
Yeah, I think it's a proof of concept more than anything. I don't think I'd even want to do that. I mean, I'll store files online, and the rest I want on the iPad so I can actually play them or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And another one, I've actually done this with one of my old iPhones. I've got an iPhone 3G and 2G, and I'm not sure which one I did this with, but you can pair up the Magic Mouse with jailbroken devices and, interact like you do with the mouse. And that's another thing that you're able to do now with the jailbreak that's out. And it works okay. It was kind of disappointing when I did this on my iPhone. The multi-gesture stuff you can do on the Magic Mouse doesn't translate at all to the iPad or iPhone, so you can't do 3-finger gestures that change pages or stuff like that. So hopefully they add some more advanced things than just moving your mouse around on the screen.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the OS 4 changes are going to be with the iPad, more so than even the iPhone. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in the future what we'll have is we'll have like a docking station, right? So it'll transform and kind of use a different interface when you're at your desk and trying to work on it. Mm-hmm. Like you'll have a mouse and keyboard perhaps that you can actually interact with it. It gives you more desktop-y OS. But once you take it out of that docking station, this will be, I think, the future iMac. I'm probably going to do a show on this, but I think the future iMac will just be an iPad that you just dock in and out, and it changes as you move it.
Yeah, I would tend to agree, Tim. It's probably very much the movement toward the new paradigm for computing is iPad and docking and the slight multitasking we get with version 4 of the OS.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to version 4 because, I mean, even with the jailbreaking and multitask, but Apple's implementation is better than true backgrounding has been done on the iPads so far, I think. Because it manages your memory, makes sure you don't do anything stupid. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And does assist with that battery life as well.
Yeah, and they do it more elegantly. Like, even Skype basically look like and act like your built-in phone. The same with Pandora. It can act like your built-in iPod player. So it's going to be such a much more elegant solution once that actually comes out.
Yeah, Tim, a few days ago I forwarded you an article about that clam case that basically
I want one.
converts your iPad into a mini laptop, so to speak.
Yeah, I kind of want that because that'd be.
Yeah.
It looks like it reminds me of the eMate, right? That was Apple's Newton OS device. That was that form factor with the keyboard that folded up and down and all that.
Exactly. I didn't even see the cost. Do you remember the?
I think it was price? $60 or something.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So you get a keyboard with that. So the Apple keyboard $70 or something like that.
Exactly. It seems like it's well worth the money.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what other case makers start to do. I'm really excited to get past this first round of cases and start getting some cases that are designed for this device instead of a concept of dimensions and hypothetically what does this device look like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll see a lot more cases, and I wasn't thrilled with the clam case, but I'd be very interested in something that allowed me to use my existing Apple Bluetooth keyboard like in a similar manner.
Yeah.
Yeah, as opposed to purchasing another. What specifically didn't you like about it, John?
It didn't seem as flexible as I would like it. I remember with the Newton message pad, there was a case that carried a keyboard, a third-party keyboard for the message pad, and it was nice because the keyboard wasn't like built in or anything, and the case was very usable without the keyboard. So just a bit more flexible, I think, is what I'm looking for.
I hear you.
I always seem to forget to hit the recording button, so I just hit record now. So yeah, I'll pull the audio from the video feed, but I always seem to forget that I should add it to the list episode here.
Need a to-do list on your iPad.
Yeah.
Pre-show checklist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
John, did you want to cover the next story?
Sure. So we had President Obama gave a commencement address at Hampton University, and had an interesting quote where he's really talking about not just iPads, but all kinds of entertainment / media devices, and he's really talking about how he's feeling that they're a distraction or a diversion, making it entertainment as opposed to a tool of empowerment. And it's kind of interesting to take that tact on these devices when so many years now we've all heard about how the internet is really the emancipation technology that provides all this power of information to the masses, and now we're hearing from somebody that it's a diversion. It's not that tool, and I don't think I agree with him, but it's an interesting thing for somebody in this day and age to come forward and say, these devices that actually give us all this information in our hands are not the tools that we had hoped they would be.
Yeah, I disagree with that statement as well. I mean, they're very productive units if you want them to be. It's the devices they're not either good or bad. They kind of show you who you are. If you want to be productive and be a useful member of society, you can do that on an iPad and get a lot of work done. But if you are that opposite, it'll reveal that, right?
Well, the iPad is no more or less productive or distracting than certainly a laptop or a desktop computer. Yeah. I'm kind of annoyed that he lumped it in with Xboxes and PlayStations, which tend to be much more entertainment devices. That's their root purpose, as opposed to a computer or an iPad that really is an information device, and like you say, can be used for what purpose the user intends.
Yeah.
That was my argument with it as well. Lumping it in with a gaming system, basically.
Yeah. It's like that's a sole purpose device. Earlier this week, Nintendo said they're finally they see Apple as an enemy. Well, they pretty much are. They finally have realized that and are going after it, I guess, with new devices. I'm not sure if they'll succeed or not.
Well, they definitely laid down the gauntlet there, but I mean, why would someone purchase a game that costs anywhere from $30 to $60 when they can buy one for $5 to $10 with the same basic user ability?
And some might argue a better interface. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that, the other gaming companies, I think, if they just get behind, I'm not sure if they'd want to do this, but if they just get behind Apple's iDevices, they can make a boatload of money developing great software because they're already good at that. If they have Mario on the iPad, banking, they would have a lot of extra income to create new hardware that would propel the market forward for Nintendo, and they'd have more people that Nintendo software. This is good software. I want to buy a Nintendo device, but I don't think they'll do that just because the stubbornness nature of companies. Right?
Well, and they're also a hardware manufacturer. They make games. They publish games for their hardware, just like Apple makes software for their hardware. But it's really their core competency is making the hardware, and so I don't know that they would, no matter what, they would go out there and support somebody else's hardware with their games.
Yeah.
that seems to kind of undermine them in the long run.
Yeah, but I often wonder in the long run, do companies need to evolve to stay relevant? Like, can Palm stay alive longer if they do different things to stay more relevant?
Well, you know, the issue is really one of how to evolve. You know, for many years, people were always saying that, you know, Apple should become a software company, not a hardware company. They should just, you know, license out their operating system, and they did for a few years, which was not very successful for them. You know, yeah. So, you know, it's really going back to core competency. The company knows how to make great hardware and support that with a lot of great integrated software. And, you know, that's just a different kind of company than a Microsoft. Microsoft that's always been a software company that is making software to augment somebody else's hardware. And, you know, well, and Microsoft's played around with hardware for a number of years, and don't get me wrong, I think the Xbox is a great video game, or, you know, game machine, but it's you know, it's still kind of a hobby thing. I don't think Microsoft's still making a whole lot of money on Xbox, if any. I haven't looked at the numbers recently, but you know, they're a huge enough company that they can do that. They can play around with things, but they are first and foremost a software company, and they need to keep their eye on that, just like Apple and Nintendo are hardware companies. And if they try to, I mean, that's kind of one of the issues that happened with Palm, I think. Palm started out as a hardware company with integrated software, and then they kind of moved into being a software company, and I don't know that they ever really got it right. That's a major move for a company to go from one thing to another.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, we haven't had a chance to do this on this show. I'm kind of surprised we haven't done this yet, but what do you guys think about this whole Flash not being on the iPad, Flash being banned from creating iPad apps, and that whole realm of what Flash's state, I guess?
Well, my thoughts, honestly, I don't miss it. Yes, it's nice to have when I'm accessing information on my laptop, but with my iPod, or my iPhone rather, and my iPad, I haven't really, I haven't missed it. I haven't been to sites where there's been a lack of Flash, where it has made me miss something, for lack of better words. But I think with HTML5 and people now starting to use that hopefully in the future we're not even going to notice it. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
For my part, I'm irritated many times by not having it, but I'm glad we don't have it. I mean, since I use Flash blocker products in my browsers on my Macs, they run incredibly more stable than they did prior to that. And, you know, I just know that's such an issue. But, you know, I often, like, if I'm out and about and I get onto a Twitter client and look at tweets, and people have links, and it seems like half the time people have links to some kind of Flash video, and that's kind of irritating because you never know what they're really talking about. You know, and it's irritating. A friend of mine was came by the other day, and I was showing him the iPad, and he's like, "Oh, I want you to see this travel log site," and we went there, and of course it was all in Flash. So, but you know, in the long run, I agree with Chris. I mean, hopefully in just a few years, we're not going to miss Flash at all, and you know, it's the right way to go. Flash is, in my experience, never been a stable thing, and it's, quite frankly, I think it's been misused way too much on the web. So it's time to go on to something new.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm actually, a lot of people might not share this opinion, a lot might share it. I'm glad Apple didn't put Flash on the iPad. And first off, I don't get Adobe's argument. They'd have to first build Flash that runs really, really well on an iPhone or iPad. and they can't even demonstrate that on Android or other platforms. So it's not even around. So that's one first thing that comes to mind. Secondly, I'm glad it's not on there just so what Apple does and does really well is push the market forward, getting rid of technology that is outdated, overused, or things like that. They did it with the floppy drive. They did it with, they were one of the first companies to do Wi-Fi and trying to get rid of, Ethernet connections as people don't need them as much. They're still around, but they've been doing it for years, and they're pretty smart about what they choose to try to eliminate and make obsolete. And I mean, Facebook's switching over to HTML5 videos or something that works on the iPad, and all the other sites are trying to transition. Right now, the biggest holdup has been all those restaurants and stores that are built in Flash, which I really don't get.
Yeah, I mean, Flash is, and I'm sure somebody might disagree with me, but Flash in the early days was really a way to get interactivity to websites back before we had a lot of the techniques that we have, Ajax and all these things that now we can get very interactive websites. And that's what Flash really was. And then it got picked up to use for video because it was installed on so many browsers. It kind of gave a single video interface that people could write to. But it wasn't originally made for video. It was made for interactivity. And we've got many tools to do that today, and certainly better video codecs and formats to use as well. So
yeah, and the one bypass solution I use right now is I use iTeleport and just go to my Mac Mini, and it's a pretty good experience if I need to access something through Flash that just doesn't work on the iPad. And that's a good temporary solution for many, and most of the sites I go to don't use Flash. I have always, like you, John, disabled Flash on purpose because it slows down my Mac Mini, and I use Click to Flash to get rid of it. So yeah, so I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. I don't think we've done it before, and we're gonna do a new section that Chris thought of called Stump Tim. He's gonna do basically some questions, and I have not looked at these or seen them in advance, and we'll see how this goes.
And John, you can feel free to add some of your own if you'd like. I got a couple here, just that I made notes on. All right. Well, let's
get started. Should I have my iPad
please
not used during?
No. Go ahead and open it, and I don't know, open up, maybe create a new email or something. And my first question is, when your keyboard is open, how do you hide it?
The bottom right corner, there's the keyboard eject tool that you can also use with the Bluetooth keyboard escape key as well.
That's correct. John, did you know that?
yes.
Okay. All right. Next question. While putting together a sentence structure, and you have a misspelled word, and it comes up and it's underlined in red, how do you correct that?
You can highlight it and simply hit the replace button, and it'll try to find its best guesses. And if it doesn't, you can, without doing anything, just start typing, and it'll write over those letters.
That's correct. Yeah, John, did you know that one as well?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they'll actually give you options on which words to replace. Once if it hasn't been corrected, if you're putting a word together and it already knows what word you're trying to create, it'll replace it automatically. But if it doesn't, it'll come up and be underlined in red, and then it will give you the option, if you click on it, to replace it with certain different words that they think you're trying to create. All right, and this one you probably already know, but if you are scrolling through a website and without having to scroll to the top with your fingers, what is the quickest way to get to the top of that?
Just touch the very top with the clock area.
Yes, that is.
Other apps too.
All right, and how about scrolling sideways on your desktop to get to another page of applications. Say you have 5 or 6 different pages of applications without scrolling. What would be another way to get to the next page or a couple pages down?
You can tap right next to the dots down there, right above the top.
That is. That was one of the ones that I saw that I was hoping to stump you on, but did not. John, did you have any?
Yeah, I'll throw out something there. So, Tim, if you want to use a language other than English and actually input that, how can you do that?
It's through the settings app, and if you go to, let's see, I think it's under general, right? General, then international, right? And then you can add keyboards. And if you do that, you'll have an option to change the keyboard as you're typing. So say if you're a Japanese, English-speaking person, you can switch between the two really easily that way.
And when you're looking at a keyboard that has multiple languages enabled, what's the key to know that that's enabled?
You can tell by, let's see here. First off, the spacebar will kind of show you what language you're at, and there will be a little world sign that you can use to switch between the keyboards.
Very good. Very good. Hard man to stump, Tim.
Yes, he is.
One on the iPhone. I haven't used that much on the iPad, though.
Yeah, of course, everyone knows how to take screenshots because they have an iPhone and the quick period.
Yeah, that's something they disabled, I guess, during the release when they showed it off, probably to stop people from doing that while they were demoing it.
Okay. How do you copy a whole paragraph?
I believe you can just double tap the paragraph, right? Let me see if that works.
That will not work.
It will not work.
No, that'll highlight a word.
Is that a triple tap?
Nope.
Select all, right? No, that gives you everything.
No, you would. I got him, I believe.
Yeah.
You would first finger tap the first word, and you would pinch to adjust with another finger to the end of the paragraph. Highlight that, and then cut, copy, paste. How would you quickly mute? You're on the phone and something on your iPad's playing in the background. How would you mute it quickly?
Sure. This is something I saw that was very cool because the iPad Touch doesn't do this, even though there's no mute button.
Right.
If you are at a high volume, you just hold down the down arrow, and it just mutes after like 2 or 3 different downs.
Yep.
That's something that's aggravating the iPad Touch even under 4.
That's all I had right now. I'm scrolling through a few things. I may, if you don't mind, maybe revisit it later. But at this point, that's.
People that are wanting to back up the iPad or
So let's encourage our listeners to write in some stump questions and see if we can get other people to stump Tim.
Yeah, that'd be great. And you can also call in, and I can actually just play your question on the air as we do it Sunday night. It's 209-542-iPad. It's 4723 for those without the alphabet on the phone. So you can call us in or email them into iPad@possibilities@gmail.com. And I'd love more questions, and you can do those in us live. So let's get on to, I guess, the main content of the show. We've been running for about a half hour now. We're at the main part of this episode all about, and that is, what would you change about the hardware? Or, I guess, what would you change about the iPad? We'll start with the hardware section of that. I'd first like to ask you guys, what would you like to change about it in future iterations?
Go ahead, Chris.
All right, sure. Well, first, I'd like to address the camera. All right. Now, as far as a forward-facing camera, I could understand the request for that. But the rear facing or to be able to take pictures, I don't really see a need for that. Simply because it's such a large device. Why would someone use it as a camera, especially if they've also got an iPhone? Are my thoughts. Now, having one forward-facing so that you can, of course, Skype and do things of that nature, I can understand a need for. But just to be completely honest for you, I'm not missing a camera feature.
So I would kind of echo that. I'm not really missing a camera feature. I know that there's sometimes, like, you use an Evernote, and it'd be neat to be able to take a picture of something like you do with the iPhone and put it into Evernote, but not a big use case, to use Tim's phraseology, for me. However, even a front-facing camera, I don't have a huge need for. I would like, though, the ability to actually plug in a camera through the dock connector. Maybe have, be like a webcam. And I think that would be the answer for pretty much everybody, is allowing somebody to plug in through the dock connector a webcam and actually be able to record things.
Yeah, I think that'd be brilliant, because I actually tried that when I got it, because I got a webcam that doesn't require drivers on the Mac. And I thought, hey, this might work, but I won't know if it works because there's no apps that would even support it. But that'd be very cool if they had drivers built into the iPad that they have in the Mac that you could use a webcam with. And that would address those that want to shoot video, those that want to take pictures of things, and all sorts of things like that. I could see the desire to have a webcam on the device itself to shoot video on it, just have it in a case that's upright to just shoot a scene or something. But not as much as I would on an iPhone, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like, some camera that plugged in there, and I can swivel it forward if I wanted to do a Skype with it, or I can swivel it toward the back if I want to take pictures with it.
And I know with front-facing camera, the problem that came up was what orientation would you get to hold the iPad in? And I think I found a possible solution for this. I know some apps on the Mac that will detect which way the camera is being held, and will actually switch the image to adjust to wherever that camera is being held. I could see the iPad knowing which way the iPad's being held and do a software orientation swap depending on how you're holding it. So I think that could solve one of the big solutions that probably held it back from being on there, just the orientation debacle, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then some other thoughts I had as far as some hardware things that are missing from the iPad. First off, more RAM, I think, will be a great thing to add. As 4.0 comes out, people will be multitasking, right? And it currently has 256 megabytes of RAM, and that's plenty for most things when you're multitasking. I've been using it, and it works really well, multitasking and doing things in the background. But I do eventually run out of space of RAM when I'm using multiple things, and I think 500, half a gig of RAM would be amazing.
So you have run out in the past?
I've used up all the RAM when I'm multitasking, but that's to be expected when some apps are like Atomic Web, for instance, is a very memory-intensive app. I'm not sure if it's bad code or just it needs that much RAM doing all the different load pages at the same time. But some apps will just eat all the RAM, just depending on how they're coded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So more RAM is always a plus. Or it might just be that software developers need to learn how to write cleaner code, maybe? I'm not sure what the solution is.
Well, it's, I would agree with you, Tim, that we could use more RAM. The Atomic Web is a classic example. I mean, really, with the built-in Safari, even if you have 9 pages when you go to look at that, there's usually only about 2 of those that are actually cached.
Yeah.
Because of the whole RAM issue. I mean, a web page can with pictures and whatnot can be pretty intensive as far as memory, and so I think more RAM would certainly be a boon to the iPad even before we get multitasking on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I think they'll have that on version 2, more RAM. I don't think it'd be too expensive for them to do, and would be a great reason for people to upgrade, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Even faster iPad because of the RAM. I mean, the CPU is really speedy. I think they'll speed that up over time as they have with the laptops, but I think RAM's the biggest slowdown right now.
Do you think it'll be possible?
What were you going to say?
I'm sorry. Do you think it'll be possible to upgrade without purchasing a new one?
Oh, no.
Is that something that'll be upgradable? Okay.
It's built into the A4 chip, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but it certainly would not be an easy thing to do with the way it's set up now. So,
and even Apple recognizing which piece of hardware you have might not allow you to install certain OSs, like the original iPhone. Even if you upgrade the innards of it, you'd have to change its recognition, and it just would get very messy really quick.
Yeah. Did you mention that had you jailbroken your iPad? Was that something that was discussed, or
John?
You, Tim?
Yes, I've jailbroken my 3G iPad, mainly for the reason of backgrounding, because I want to run Pandora in the background as I read iBooks or whatever. Also, to open up the 3G capabilities, right? Some apps are mainly the built-in Apple apps are limited by 3G now.
Okay.
Netflix were fine, but I've got an app that'll allow me to download apps bigger than 20 megabytes and download podcasts that are bigger than 20 megabytes or movies or whatever. And I also have an app that turns it into a wireless hotspot, so I can hook up other places too. Emulators. I have the over.
Right. Not buggy.
No, not really. I mean, they've cleaned up most of the bugginess. There's some apps that just won't work on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you just be careful and be selective about what you install, they all work fine right now. There's no longer that. There's a bug initially that I ran into of if you install SBE settings, which allows access to changing the brightness and turning off radios anywhere within the iPad. It turned your iPad into literally a big iPod Touch. And people call the iPad a big iPod Touch, but this really shows you that it being a big iPod Touch. They have the icons smaller in this mode. The dock is to one corner of the iPad in a very small little corner. It's the original iPod dock, and it's literally a big iPod Touch. It is a bizarre thing. I took some screen grabs when I was in that mode, and I'll probably share those online pretty soon here, but that was the only big thing that I ran into besides it completely crashing on me once and restoring it, but
Right.
it was good.
It's good that you were able to restore it with no problems.
Yeah, it was no problems. The only big hassle for me is since this is a 64 gigabyte model, I like to have all my media on it as far as music is concerned, and I like to save space on it, so I encode the 128 kilobyte setting, and that means it takes about 24 hours to resync all my media and apps and everything over. So I just have to let it sit down for a day and sync, which is not a fun thing for me.
The good news there is that you had the Wi-Fi version, so you didn't have to go without.
You don't have a backup.
The luxury of having two iPads.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's great. Cause I'm watching videos on one and browsing the web on the other, and all sorts of use cases that you have too.
So that kind of brings me to something that I wish we could do with the iPad, and there's an app that tried to do this. I think it was called iDesktop or something like that. iDisplay. And I mean, what I would like to do is if the iPad supported some way of hooking it up with the dock connector, or potentially even Wi-Fi, but probably the dock connector would be better, and just have it act as an intelligent display on your laptop or desktop, and really not just use it for an extra screen, but actually pass off information to it and let it display things and it do things. That would be a very, very cool thing, kind of like XGrid for the iPad, if you would, some way of really using that processing power and getting something out of it hooked to a laptop.
A feature to look forward to in the future, definitely.
Yep.
As people get their second-gen iPads or third-gen iPads, if they take a couple of gens to upgrade, having through a dock connector or something like that, dual screen mode of the iPad. You can operate the iPad with two screens going at the same time, or some way to link two iPads up to that makes sense.
And you can hinge them together in a case and get the Microsoft Courier thing going there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But better than the Courier.
Yeah, and I mean, the cool thing as, iPads get older, you can also, transfer battery power from the newer ones to the older ones to juice up the dying battery that way. Other things like that.
Mm-hmm. There's an app available which allows you to search and surf through two different websites at the same time.
Oh yeah,
For what?
That one's browser duo.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of them that do that now.
Mm-hmm. I know one of them was.
I like browsing the web where you just open a bunch of tabs.
Yeah.
But another hardware thing before we move on totally to software is would it be pretty cool if they had two sets of speakers in this thing? So when you're in landscape mode, it's true stereo sound. 'Cause I've heard they have a lot of extra room inside here that's just empty. So what do you think about that? Is that a good idea or just completely ridiculous?
No, I think it's a great idea, especially if you're not using a headset while you're watching movies.
Well, and not just movies. I mean, as people start getting more entertainment out of it, like gameplay, having more speaker power would definitely be good.
And your hand wouldn't cover up, if you're using one side, your hand would cover up both speakers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
There was the note here about various screen size models, and I would actually enjoy having something a little bit more pocketable than the iPad. I mean, I love the size of the iPad. I wouldn't give up a device having this size of screen, but I would certainly probably pick up another one that was a little smaller and a little bit more convenient to take everywhere.
Yeah, like I don't know, the iPhone's 3.5 inches, so the iPad's 10 inches, like a
Maybe
6 inch maybe.
Something
Yeah.
similar to a Kindle,
Almost. I mean, just
Kindle or a Nook size. Is that what you were thinking, John?
Maybe a little bit smaller than that, more screen and less bezel around it, but but the screen size kind of being that size, something that might fit into a coat pocket easier or something, and just be more convenient to carry around.
And then the other spectrum, I think a larger one would be a lot of fun for just home and usage. You wouldn't bring this one around as much, but that'd be your home model of the iPad. That's a larger screen that, how we said the iPad has a different breed of apps because of the screen size. Imagine, the iPad's 10 inches. Imagine a, 14-inch iPad. Something that would even have more screen real estate, or 15 inches. They'd have to design it in a way that would make sense, but I think larger screen would be kind of interesting. You could dock it in your, as we talk about a docking station, that would be.
Yeah, which is why you won't see a different size for quite some time because of all that's involved in changing those ratios and aspects.
Yeah, I could see something like that, a larger screen being that kind of general purpose interface. The thing you mount in your kitchen and you play videos on it and you look up your recipes and you can control your dishwasher with it or whatever. That would certainly be ideal for that kind of thing. Not something you're going to carry around, a 15-inch screen and hold it up, read a book on it, but docking it.
They could just do it with Microsoft as a Surface. They could just totally obliterate that market by releasing an iPad cable, that's built into it, that's big size, that's cost effective. Right now, the Surface no one buys because it's too expensive. They can just wipe out Microsoft with their great Surface.
Well, you haven't seen the price tag on a huge touchscreen though, Tim.
I have not. Well, Apple has connections, right, to get lower costs. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be pretty costly. The Surface technology is actually fairly easy compared to real full multi-touch capability.
I'm so amazed that I think back here, as people bought TVs that were about this size a couple years ago, or even a little bit bigger. Getting TVs this thin with this good of a screen, they cost a bit more than this iPad does. It just blows my mind how at this end of a basically display that is much more than just a display. It's still something that blows my mind today.
Yeah. I can't wake up early enough in the mornings to get my hands on it. Read the note.
Thoughts on the hardware side of things before we move this?
Nope.
I can't think of anything personally.
Well, the first thing I thought of, as kind of discussed before, was driver support in the iPad. That's something that is really lacking, I think, in iPad. So the ability to just plug in things for webcams, scanners, printers, MIDI keyboards, all sorts of other devices. I think they had like a driver pack that you could install. Through the App Store. Apple's they have their OS updates through there. You could buy a driver, like a printer driver update or set, like they do with, say with GarageBand, you can buy jam packs. What if you could buy a driver pack, right? And install whatever drivers you need. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about that?
I think it'd be interesting. I don't see that happening. I think when we get to Apple allowing you to hook up all these things, I think they're going to want pretty much control and make sure everybody has the same stuff. That's what makes developing software in the Apple universe a lot easier than it is in the Windows universe. And so, I would agree. I'd like to see more driver support, particularly with something like the camera connection kit. But I would think it would be something that everybody would get, not just a purchase. Somebody purchases it.
Yeah, sure.
Also, something that Apple created, as opposed to a third party.
Yeah, like an Apple printer. Like they had some printers Apple made for their Macs, and even the Newton hooked into that printer. Can I get into the printer market and scanner market and create a whole set of iPad accessories that they would probably be banking a good amount of money on?
Well, I think they
could, but with the research and development involved, it takes away from what they excel at. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that they would probably just partner with a couple of the big makers and make the drivers for somebody else's hardware and make them pay for the privilege of selling it to the iPad market.
I just want to talk about. I picked up an iFi card a couple days ago, and that's for those that don't know what it is. It's like a camera card that has wireless built into it, and that's one great way to get around this whole lack of camera on the iPad. You have a real camera that you can instantly send it to some web services that have apps on the iPad, and boom, it's on your iPad right there. So I just wanted to throw that out. I know it's kind of off topic, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and it works really well with my MiFi and networks that I use.
That sounds amazing, and it's quick too, correct?
Yeah, I take the photo and I just keep the camera on for like a minute or so, and I get email notifications when it's there, and within 30 seconds it's in my Evernote account. So I take my receipt. I have a camera that's in my cart, and I just take pictures of my receipts, and I know it's in my Evernote account once I turn on my MiFi and throw away the receipts. It's really great.
And does it take longer if there's several pictures?
Yeah, it basically just uploads them to whatever service, so it hooks up with Facebook, Evernote, some other cloud services, Flickr.
Right.
And I'm sure there will be apps that work with those. So I know Evernote, I can see when they're on there, and it's pretty cool because it tags it with location information, all that kind of stuff.
I just wish they made a compact flash one because my DSLRs are compact flash.
Yeah, I picked up a camera actually just to do just that for $80. I tried to find the thinnest camera I could find, so I got a Casio XLM or something. It's really thin and it works pretty well for what it does, you know.
And then you can put it in the back of your iPad case, right? And pretend like you have a camera.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, right. That's a future, developer hardware, case maker. We've talked about cases that have the MiFi built into it. Make a case with a camera slot built into it, so you can add your own. Oh, it'd be great.
Put out another YouTube spoof.
Yeah. Well, let's see. What else? I thought of this as far as software stuff. Widget mode for iPhone apps, right? So the iPhone apps you have in your iPhone, they're good. They run okay. I normally don't pixel double them just because they seem easier to run in the iPhone mode. But what if you could have an app on the iPad called, your dashboard or widget app that you just select your iPhone apps that you want to use in that mode, and you select 4 apps that launch in their own corners of the iPad, and they can interact with each other and do all sorts of cool stuff like that. That would kind of make better use of the iPhone apps.
I think that'd be really cool. I mean, early on, shortly after the iPhone came out, there were a lot of concepts of where Apple might go with this, and I know that there was one like a bedside clock that ran the clock and the weather app and the stock app, or I don't know, it ran like 3 different iPhone apps side by side, and I always thought that would be a cool thing to have, and I still do. I think that the iPad would really be a really cool thing to have to run a couple of iPhone apps side by side, and I don't even care if they can talk to each other. Just to have them up there and be able to switch from one to the other instantly would be a great thing.
Yeah,
and I think it's doable. I don't know if it'll be passed through the iTunes store, the App Store, but
Apple does it themselves as a part of the 4.0 or 5.0 iPad OS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I read an article. Oh, I'm sorry. I read an article this week. That since they didn't have a clock feature, that a developer put out an app with a clock and sold over 1 million applications or something similar to that.
I was one of those going because I've got the version on my iPhone, and it's one of my favorite apps because I just run it at night or during the day because I've got an extra iPhone and I set that as a clock. And it's a great app. It's Nightstand HD.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried on the regular iPhone version on the iPad, and it looked fine. I could have used it, but I was kind of curious what they would do with the iPad version, and it's a great little app. That's what it says.
What was it, 99 cents?
99 cents, yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been $2.99 when I bought it. I'm not sure. I forget. I buy a lot of apps.
Well, some developer took full advantage of that and made a buttload.
Yeah, I mean, they already had the code basically from the iPhone that they just made better for the iPad. And I really wish I knew how to develop. That's one thing I'm trying to learn, and it's a long process to try to do it good.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any other thoughts as far as software edition? No, I'm guessing.
No.
Okay, I'll share my last one with you, and that was half and half mode for iPad apps. What if you could have basically this would be true multitasking. I think is when you're doing more than one thing at a time, and I think backgrounding is when you have something right in the background that's playing or running a task. But I think true multitasking would involve running 2 apps where you're able to interact with both of them at the same time. And I was thinking you could do that by just having split screen mode on the iPad and have apps aware of that and be able to do that. Does that sound practical or useful at all?
I think it does, and I think that's where the iPad will be moving. I'd say definitely within the next couple upgrades. What are your thoughts, John?
So, I see a lot of intelligent thought behind what Apple's doing with the iPhone and the iPad, in that having multiple windows open and jumping back and forth is not the best thing, particularly for a small screen, less so for the larger screen. But it's something that we've gotten used to on computers, but it's not necessarily the best way to interact with things. So I think that if the iPad or some successor of the iPad with this multi-touch interface does start to replace our laptops and our desktops, then I think we would have to go to something that would allow some kind of interactivity and being able to see information from two different apps at the same time. So, I see that, but I think it's going to be quite a ways out there, because they're really focused on ease of use, and multiple windows and stuff like that just cut into that ease of use for non-computer users a big time.
Yeah.
So for those of us that are used to it, we want it because that's what we're used to. But for neophytes, it's makes getting into it that much harder.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild. I've got family that I thought they'd really get the iPad and understand it, but I always say my mom's not the best with computers, I would say. And she was looking for that, Windows interface of, go through the file system and all that. And so I think some people are still looking for that stuff, even if they don't know.
Well, they got used to it, right?
Yeah. And then they were like, what is this?
You don't
learn how to switch over this, right?
Don't break something that it took me so long to learn how to use.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting, because I hear other stories about, grandmas and kids and just getting a hold of it right away and understanding it.
Yeah, so I think if it's your first introduction into computing, it's a much lower barrier to entry than Windows or Mac computer is. But if you're used to that, that's what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah.
The fear of change. Fear of change.
Like, this isn't how it's supposed to be. This is crazy. So with that, I think that kind of wraps up our what would we like to change about it, and I think we'll do that sometime in the future, but that's kind of our first round at it. And I'd like to move ahead to our picks of the week, and the way we do picks is we do picks, as many as we find interesting this week. So Chris, would you like to start us off with some picks?
Applications?
Yeah, applications, hardware stuff, like cases or accessories, anything,
Sure, I got a couple apps that I find myself using constantly. The first one is App Gems. It's powered by Macworld, and it gives you a gem of the day, which, here nor there. But it also gives you the essentials, top-rated apps. But what I find myself looking into are the news of the day. It's all app-related, or my apologies, all Mac-related. And a lot of the information that I get on a daily basis comes from this app, and it's pretty detailed. But not only does it have news, it also has suggestions and essential apps, things like that, and you can search for reviews, things of that nature. So, and I think I believe it's 99 cents, well worth it just for the app, for the news portion rather.
Good gems of the day. Do those turn up good
Sure.
apps, or?
Yeah. The gem of the day for today is called Trip Journal, for instance. Planning summer vacation, make sure this app's installed on your iPhone. It helps you capture important dates and places as you travel. So I think it's more geared towards the iPhone, but
it's the same information that you get from the iPhone version, or is it the iPhone version?
it is the iPhone version. I got it double pixel.
I thought there was an iPad version. Is there?
I don't believe so. Let me check real quick.
World's App Gem.
Yeah, it's only available for the iPhone. And another one. How's that working out for you?
Not the best. Give me the character suggestions that are weird. Or what I'm not used to. Yeah, it's only the iPhone version, as I'm seeing.
I got a few more, but I'll go over one more if we have time. I'll talk about a couple others, but another one that I am getting a lot of use out of is the early edition. It has several different news sources: Apple Hot News, Glasshouse apps, Smoking Apples, iPhone App Storm, Engadget, TechCrunch, Yahoo News, etc. And it's very informative, very easy to use, and I probably spend at least a half hour, 45 minutes with this app each day. A lot of the articles that I sent you in the past week or so have come from this application, and I can't speak highly enough of it. And you can actually add sources to it as well. You put in the URL, add it, so that one-stop shop, so to speak. Yeah, I believe it's a $4.99 app, but quite honestly, if you're looking for technical news, you're going to love it.
Geared towards kind of the techie person?
Yes. Yeah, you can add anything in there, but yeah.
And it basically takes RSS feeds and turns it into kind of a newspaper style?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they already have some that are highlighted for you, but as I mentioned before, you can add as many as you would like as well.
It looks like from the description that they're going to be adding Google Reader import. So that's going to be great for me, especially as use of Google.
Yep. It gets only 3.5 stars. I don't know why though. Let me see here. It only has.
It's because people have a hard time importing their own feeds or something like that, is my guess.
Yeah, because you have to have instead of the website or the web address, you have to have the URL. So it makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah.
But
very cool.
Yeah.
Other apps.
Let's see here. App Advice, of course. App Advice Daily. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good app. I enjoy their daily. What is it? Their
daily articles and kind of daily know what's kind of going on the iPhone community or whatever iPhone community. They've got how to read PDFs in the iPad iBook app.
Applicious.
EPUB, I'm guessing is
Applicious. I find myself enjoying a couple different games.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, what are your picks this week?
So I've got a few. Let me start with an app, and it's called Countdown Timer Plus for iPad.
Okay.
It's a free app, and it's just kind of a neat little thing. It essentially lets you start a timer, and while it's running, you can browse the web. So, for those times you are timing your laundry or doing something else, you can just browse the web while the timer counts down and alerts you when it's done, and it's kind of a cool little thing. And it's free.
So it uses a browser built into that application, I'm guessing?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep. So it's a cool little thing, and it's free. And I'll just get on my soapbox here for a second. I don't know why people insist on voting free apps as a 1-star, like they weren't getting their money's worth or something.
Yeah.
But it works. It hasn't been buggy or really crashy on me, so I don't know why anybody would rate it below a 2. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But come on, people, it's a free app.
I think I read a review and they were expecting full clock functionality that was taken out of the iPad.
Yeah. So.
Hey, John, why would one pick up that app as opposed to just using their clock?
No particular reason. Just seemed like a fun little thing to do to have the timer on there while you're browsing.
I didn't think that the iPad didn't have a clock. So
yeah, you'd have to use some other clock.
Disregard that question.
Yeah, I've seen some.
I was thinking maybe for use on an iPhone, since you can do that functionality on the iPhone itself.
Right. So I have one other software app, and that was I haven't played too much with this, but it's pretty intriguing. It's called TweetFlow, and it's a little different Twitter interface. It's kind of a fun little interface. It's also free right now for limited time, it says. So it's if you're into Twitter, take a look at it. It's really a nice looking interface, and might be a good thing to have. Then I have a couple of hardware picks. One is BookArc for iPad.
Okay.
So there is BookArc for MacBook, which is essentially kind of a aluminum stand that allows you to, close your MacBook and stand it up if you're using like an external monitor and keyboard or something like that. Wasn't real interesting to me because I want to use my MacBook screen when if I'm using my MacBook and I'll hook to an external monitor, but I want more space, so I don't close it. But BookArc for iPad is a great little stand. They've kind of repurposed it a little bit, and it's got a nice plastic rubber kind of inset in this nice aluminum stand, and you can stand up in portrait or landscape mode. Looks like a really great stand for kind of a vertical orientation.
Have you tried this one yet? Will it fit the Apple case in there or no?
There is supposedly a different insert that you can put inside the aluminum for the iPad being inside a case.
Oh, that would be killer, because...
Yeah, I haven't gotten one yet. It's just recently out, but I think I'll be probably ordering one of those.
Yeah, John, I saw...
There's an opening beneath, so you could turn that into a dock that works with the Apple case.
Yeah, I think there is, and I'll let you know more when I get one. But it looks pretty cool, and it's at www.12south.com.
Yeah, that'd
So-
be killer, because that to be a replacement dock for many that want to keep their iPads in cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I saw this dock, and it looks pretty amazing. It's a bit on the pricey side. Am I correct?
It's 40, and the Apple one is 30 for their dock, so it's not too bad because it's a lot bigger and more fun.
Okay.
To run, 'cause it's not so vertical.
I may be thinking of a different one then. I saw one similar to that was $100 and change.
There was another aluminum one that was very expensive, and I kind of said it wasn't worth that. But this one looks pretty good for $40. So then the other piece of hardware, which again I haven't seen but on the web, but is intriguing to me, is iPad cases from TempleBags.com, and they have a really neat case that comes in both leather and canvas combination or all leather. They're on the pricey side. Leather and canvas is $159 and all leather is $189. But these are really nice bags. They're kind of like a portfolio, except they're more of a vertical orientation portfolio. So they don't open like a book. They would open like a pad that flips up. And there's a couple of different ways you can, in both landscape and portrait, you can use the case to help support the iPad up as a stand.
That's pretty cool. So it's like a bag, but a case too.
Yeah,
Almost like a backpack looking.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like a messenger bag kind of look when it's over your shoulder. But really nice looking case, and if I can put the money together, I might be getting one. But they certainly something to check out if you're looking for a really nice looking case. TempleBags.com.
Yeah, very cool. I'll email them and see if they'll send me a review unit. I'm not sure if they've got extras to do that or not.
I'll have to get rid of my Louis Vuitton iPad holder to get this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big Waterfield design fan, so I'll see what those are like when I get those in. Is that all you got for this week?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Okay. Well, some very exciting things came out this week. The first was Dropbox for iPad. This is, as many people know about Dropbox, it's basically a folder that you have on either your Mac or Windows machine, and it instantly syncs to all your computers, all your devices, and they've had an iPhone app for some time, and they've finally released their iPad app. And some cool things with this is you can actually open up files such as PDFs. Oh, here we go. So once it's loaded, you can open in, as I have on mine. I annotate PDF, my PDFs, Downloader, Goodreader, and if you have apps that recognize you can open things in them, you can do that from Dropbox. Now, one thing I'd like to see in an iPad software update that we didn't talk about is being able to save back into Dropbox. That's kind of a fault of the operating system right now. It's kind of sandboxed, which is a real disappointment. But for those that use Dropbox, this is a killer app that you can also, if you want a simple way to have videos on your iPad, you can put videos in your Dropbox. You get free up to 2 gigabytes, and you can put videos in there. They can stream right on your device, or you can sync them down to it so you have local storage and all that. So that's Dropbox for iPad. Highly recommended. Next, I want to talk about a jailbreak app. Now, this is kind of this is purely out of aesthetics that you would use this. It's called Make It Mine, and it's an iPhone app that works on the iPad. And what you do is you simply write whatever text you want, and then you hit carrier or banner, and the banner is up top here where the clock is, and then the carrier is, AT&T or with the Wi-Fi model's iPad. And what I've done is I changed it from iPad and AT&T to my last name. So I've got 4 bars of chatting right now. So you can change it to whatever you want. I tried isolate for a little while, and it just felt wrong. So I changed away from those. I can see why Apple didn't use isolate, because it just, I don't know, it didn't look right for some reason. So you can change it to isolate if you would rather have it say isolate on your Wi-Fi iPad or whatever. Or you can have your last name up there like I did. Can't be too long, otherwise it gets cut off. But it's a great little app that'll enable you to make some aesthetic changes. And my final app of this week is called Flex Timer. This is something I was looking for as I actually do some, fitness courses and everything like that. And what it enables you to do is, fix this webcam before it falls off, is it enables you to make your own timing things, right? So you can add your own set of times as you need to. For instance, let's see, with Budokai, it's 4 miles. Each are 6 minutes long. And you can see it's on mile 1 right now. And you can write kind of what's coming up next. And you'll see your status for that current set that you're doing underneath here. So I've got 6 minutes left in this first mile, and it gives me how close I am. And it gives me my overall 4-mile workout. I've got 23 minutes left, and it shows me that right there. So if you're looking for a timer for the iPad, that's pretty flexible as far as creating your own routines and own set of times that you need to keep track of. This is a great app. It's called Flex Timer. I think it was 99 cents. Might be $2.99. I forget exactly what it was. But it's a great little app that I use for doing. So those are my picks of the week. Any other thoughts before we close up the show?
Yeah, I got a couple things, if you don't mind. Jen was mentioning a Tweeter app, which poses a question: How much do you think things are going to change with the recent purchase of, what was it, TweetDeck? The recent, was it Tweety? I know Apple purchased one of the apps, and I believe it's going to be a part of upcoming versions of the iPad. And how is it going to change with the other apps? I'm assuming they're going to kind of fall off, because a lot of development's going to go into making sure that these are the best possible.
I think that people will need to differentiate themselves from the official Twitter app for iPad and iPhone to make products that people want. I don't think the Twitter app will have everything. They might not have the UI people like, and I think they'll have to differentiate themselves that way. I know I use Twitterific, the free version, right now, so I'm not paying anything for Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really given that much thought myself, but there might be some confusion about that for a while. I think it'll just shake out. There there's enough Twitter apps out there that people can pretty much pick it.
Okay. And one last thing I had, I was reading an article and went to a website called mypadmedia.com. I don't know if you've heard of this. Unlimited ebooks for the iPad. $49.95 lifetime membership includes unlimited downloads, unlimited free novels, comics, newspapers, and more. Free 24-hour technical support, no monthly or pay-per download fees. It's an absolute scam. I did some research because, $50 unlimited everything seemed a little or a lot too good to be true. And I did, in my findings, find that completely not true. 100% scam. I didn't know if either of y'all had heard about that. mypadmedia.com?
No, I had not either. Mm-hmm. But it's good to know. I think as we discover these things, we certainly should put them out there for folks to understand that they're not getting something for nothing.
Yeah, a lot of people that looked into it and actually purchased it, and a lot of feedback that was pretty negative. And there's a lot of people out there that are trying to take advantage, and there was another way to do so. It looks great on the surface, $49.95 unlimited everything, but of course,
like those free iPads if you send them your zip code, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's a classic case of you go to the website, which I just did, and you look at it, and it's a very professional looking website. It's got testimonials included on it, but that doesn't mean it's not a scam.
Yeah.
Scammers can make pretty websites too.
Yeah, pretty websites are easy to make these days. Just use RapidWeaver on the Mac or whatever. Never mind. Wow. Yeah, it looks legit. Unlimited iPads. Is there Flash on the site, John? For if you're on the website, on the.
I did not see any Flash.
Okay.
Well, no, there is like a Flash box. I see that now.
Yeah, on the iPads, that's Flash here and that little
pull
down here.
So when you click on it, it gives you an iPad with the screen changing to show all kinds of different media on it.
Okay.
So buyers beware.
Yeah, stay away from that site. Stay away from those that say you get free iPads by giving.
Yep.
Is there any other thoughts before we close it out today?
I think I've gone over everything that I was considering.
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
I got one question.
Rather lengthy show tonight. We've talked about a lot of different things.
Yeah, I got one question for you, Tim. Is this going to be available as a video podcast or audio only?
For the time being, it's audio only. I do the live shows Sunday night are on Ustream, and I'll actually start using those with the premium version. I'll edit them and all that. But it's audio only for the regular episodes, but I am doing some video episodes that make sense doing them that way. So I've got my first one. I did a review.
Stylus. Yeah, I saw that yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. I'm actually considering purchasing one now.
So Tim, I just had a question about the premium. So when folks buy into the premium, in the future, do they get all of the stuff that's been delivered up to that point?
Yep, I've got all the content, all 34 episodes now in there, as well as the higher quality video show I did for the podcast app. So those are all in there right now, and it's set up so it's all password protected, but you can add the iTunes very easily. So every Monday, basically with the premium show, you get the shows as you do with the podcast app, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But you also get some extra episodes, so special audio episodes that aren't going to be in the podcast app, and you get special video shows that won't be in the podcast app. So you get extra bonus content through that app, and you get them early. So, or that not app, but the premium version.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about it, folks, you can still get all those premium things that have gone on before you now. If you buy the app.
Yeah, it's only $2 a month. I thought I'd price it extremely low, just so I know people are, as in this day of age, probably doing more and more of content online and paying for it. So Hulu comes out, it'll probably be $10. I thought $2, maybe can afford that to support the show and as well to get extra content. And to do that, we just go to possibiliesnetwork.com. And you'll see on the main page there's the right under the iPad possibility page. So you just click on that. It's got all the information there. It's just $2 a month through PayPal, and you can unsubscribe right below there if you want to ever in the future. So that's a premium show. Yep. Any other questions or anything like that?
What I like is the ability to star your favorite episodes and revisit them later. And look back at things that you were meaning to write down or didn't get an opportunity to.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just viewed the Stylus podcast, and without a doubt, I'm gonna purchase one of those in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that too. I was on IMP Live today with other guys. I'm not sure if you've heard of that podcast, but basically an international podcast of people in UK and all that, Switzerland. And I was on that podcast today.
Was it an iPad podcast or?
No, it's a Mac-oriented podcast, but I guess Apple-oriented. So we did get into a lot of iPad discussion stuff. Probably a fourth of the show is iPad talk, but I know a lot about Mac stuff too. So
Very cool.
Excellent.
We'll, check you guys out, John and Chris. Any plugs you want to do?
Go ahead, Chris.
I don't have any plugs or websites to speak of. Just a fan of the show, to be honest with you. I look forward to each new episode, and I was extremely excited about the opportunity to come and join in.
Cool. I'd love to have you on in the future. It's been
Absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed myself. Thank you very much, and pleasure talking with you as well, John.
Pleasure from my side as well, Chris. Good to have you. So I can be found on Twitter, jfinnan, JFINNAN. What about you, Tim?
Yes, I am on Twitter as well. I am tchaten, so TCHATEN, and basically my Twitter feed is, I try to keep it mostly the iPad stuff. So if you're looking for the latest iPad news and all that, you can follow me there. And let's see, I'm also, as you know, on the Possibilities Network. That's my network that the iPad Possibilities podcast is on. So you can find me there. Feedback is always welcomed for this show at iPadPossibilities@gmail.com and 209-542-iPad. You can send me your questions, comments, or if you want something like a Have Your Say, you can do that and play your audio back on the show. And if you'd like to support this show, you can do that through iTunes simply by subscribing, rating, or reviewing. Reviews are great, so I appreciate all of those. They really help others check out what the show's all about. So I love support there. And then, as we talked about earlier, the podcast app is available for $2.99, in which you get the shows a day early, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as well as video shows. And then the premium version is another great way to support the show. Probably the best way right now to support the show. And you can find all the information about the premium show at thepossibilitiesnetwork.com. It's the link right under iPad Possibilities, and it's got all the information there. It's only $2 a month to access the premium show. And that gives you access to the shows Monday, Wednesday, and Friday instead of Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. as well as extra video shows, extra audio shows. So if you can't get enough of this podcast, you'll get more with the premium version. And then donations are always appreciated, and those are found on the Possibilities Network on the iPad Possibilities page. So that's how you can support this show and get more content and more iPad goodness through the Possibilities Network. So that wraps up today's show, and we will talk again next Sunday night and at the live show. We do this every Sunday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll talk to you guys again for the Wednesday, Thursday show this week.